and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Any changes to the addition or to the agenda? Sorry. Okay, no changes or additions. So I would consider a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moving seconded, any discussion? Seeing hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Signify by saying no. Okay, consent agenda is approved.
Is Matt on there? Did I just hear him?
Or not.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
his phone.
Seeing hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Signify by saying no. Okay, consent agenda is approved.
Is Matt on there? Did I just hear him?
Or not.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
his phone.
Oh, there he is.
Hi, Matt.
Hello.
On to reports. Diane, talk to us about teaching and learning.
I'd love to. I've been waiting for this for a month. Okay, here's a handout that I've created that I want you guys to have. This is what I've been doing. Everything else I've been doing besides what I'm going to talk about tonight for the last 5 months. So I'm going to take one and pass them around. And Kristen asked me to talk to you guys about four things:
Thank you.
TCAP, curriculum review, and the ed tech position in Travis, and student achievement. So I'm going to do that. Okay, and feel free to ask me any questions along the way or anything. So the first item we're going to talk about is the TPEP, the Teacher Principal Evaluation Program. And we are blessed in this district. We have a really strong district training team that trains the new teachers in TPEP. It's mandatory by the state, and our presenters are the state certified Sheila Ridgway, Matt Peterson, and Travis Rush. And every year, at the beginning of the year, they're able to do professional learning and go through our 5D framework and the evaluation process. So all our new teachers are trained in CEL 5D. Along with that, simultaneous is the BEST grant. Usually those teachers are first-year teachers or new to the district. They'll be part of the BEST grant program. And that is also run by Sheila Ridgway and Matt Peterson. And they start off at the beginning of the year with a big meeting and an introduction to the district. And again, they go over all everything that has to do with this framework and TCAP and the evaluation system. And then I've been lucky enough to attend their monthly professional learning that they have. And if part of BEST grant is that they match a teacher with a mentor with a mentee. And so every month these people get together and Matt does professional learning with them. And I've been sitting in and they are amazing sessions. Like for example, around conference time, the whole professional learning is devoted to conferences and how it looks and what to do. So the mentees and mentors get together from all of the buildings in the district and they're able to do a really, really robust professional learning. And so I've been, like I said, I've been attending those every month and they're great. And there's a lot of positive feedback. And I met with Sheila and Matt today, as a matter of fact, talking about a roadmap now plan for a sustainable BEST grant program for years to come. It's always dependent on the grant and the amount, so you kind of have to recruit your mentors and say, well, depending on how many people we get, you might get this much money, or we might be able to do this. They want to be creative and find ways to have the program be sustainable so that they can keep the mentors from year to year. And then the next part of TPEP is, of course, the CEL 5D framework that everybody's, been trained in. But I know that with all our pivots from face-to-face to remote, even though it is our grounding, our foundational part of our framework, we haven't had the evaluation part of it as robust as we used to. So we're going to revisit that and reestablish CEL 5D and for the principals. And then we're also going to bring back the eval tool And I think, Lisa, you're familiar with that. When we were originally a pilot district for self-ID. And so at that particular time, we brought in self-ID and people from UW, and then we had a eval tool as part of it. But it was kind of overwhelming, and the principals, you had to do with a lot of artifacts, and the kind of the down part of it was the teachers are going to be standing at the copy machine uploading all this stuff, and it just kind of got a bad rap in the beginning. And then for some reason, and I could have been part of the problem, it fell off. And we didn't use eval tool, and principals just kind of have their own systems now, and they create their own charts and their own things. But for me, I really want to ground my professional learning and everything in what's needed. And so if the principals don't have a system and I can't look at that, and they can't look at that and say, hey, a lot of my people are weak in number 8 or number 3, then how do we plan our PD? How do we really truly make it a growth model versus a gotcha model? And so we really want to honor the intent of the new, not so new anymore, but the new evaluation system that was designed to truly be a growth model for teachers.
I think that just some feedback, I think that's really important because I don't believe that teachers feel like there's inconsistency. And so they're always guessing at what they're really supposed to do and not getting the feedback that they needed in order to really grow. Like I've heard teachers say, well, if they would have told me that before my evaluation, I totally would have, or I could have provided some evidence that I'm doing this. But now a building doesn't have a process, and then you get an evaluation, no opportunity for feedback. So I think having consistency throughout the district would be really helpful for teachers. They can collaborate together and they know what to expect. And I don't know if I would love a refresher on that process as well, just so I know what, when the committee comes to me, I can say, yes, this is the tool, this is, the expectation. I think that would be a great professional development for us as a board, because we've done it in the past, but it's been a long time. I don't think we've done it since Lisa's been
No,
here.
and I think with the eval tool that you're
Yeah.
mentioning about, Diane, it's a standardization. So they
Yes.
have the same common
Yep.
dialogue when we're talking about 8.3,
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I think that's so important.
9.1, and so.
It's huge.
And I talked to a couple principals. I said, we're going to bring back eval tool. And they're like, why? I said, because we need a system.
Yeah.
And as you're going to learn, I hope you hear a theme with me throughout this whole thing is that I want systems and connections. So I don't want people to feel like every time I bring up something or initiative, it's an add-on. It's part of our system. And so as, the more I talk at these meetings and different things, I hope you start to pick up on my systemization, because my mind is kind of a crazy place, but it really makes sense.
Yeah, and I think integrating systems into one instead of doing one tool here and one tool there, and it's just hard to put them all together in one piece.
And one true gift we really got, Kim and I were in on a seminar, a webinar that was put on by AWSP, and the lady talking is the head of WASPA, which is, I don't know if you guys know, the group that the state group for all the HR directors. And she was talking about evaluation. And Kim and I were in different offices, but we were texting each other, oh my goodness, this is what we need, this is what we need. And so before it was over, Kim had texted this, her name's Kim Holland, and asked her to come out and do an in-service retreat. So in August, even like John and all the classified directors and the principals, all of us are going to have a full day with Kim Holland on evaluation. And exactly, she was saying some pretty amazing things that were common sense, but if you haven't heard it, it doesn't all come together, right? Kim's great. We're going to have her come out. So that's all part of the evaluation piece. And then, like you said, having the data to look at in order to get consistency. Okay. So any questions, anything more about TPEP?
No, other than if you can, I'm going to request from the president, if we can somewhere calendar into the fall, summer, fall, whatever, some work around that, or even just come to the presentation. I would be happy to have an invite to that and give myself a refresher. That would be great.
Right.
Put you to work.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay.
Well, anyway, you have to give the direction.
The next part is curriculum review. That was the next thing that Preston wanted me to talk about. And on the top of that list is our math adoption, and I really want to give Preston a thank you because she's allowed us to have a full-fledged math adoption. This is for secondary because our contract with Big Ideas is up, and we don't know if we'll renew that, if that's what we come up with, but we're doing a literature review, a book study, and looking at all, I've given them articles, and they have a Google Classroom that's just for this math adoption where they can go in and talk to each other, review materials, talk about what they're seeing. So far it's been really, really exciting. And when I was working with PFESD on their math leadership team, they suggested that there's this person named Matt Peterson, and he does an amazing job. Which I know Matt Peterson, and they said, oh, great. And so Matt has agreed to lead our book study. And so I'm really excited about that.
So when you say a book study, do you have one book, or is everybody, what book are you?
It's called Catalyzing Change, and there's put out by NCTM, and it was suggested by Puget Sound ESD, a math leadership group. And there's a elementary version, a middle school version, and a high school version, but you can do it simultaneously. And Matt said he agreed to do it. He goes, but can we bring in some elementary people to hear so we can look at the full spectrum, you know, kind of vertical alignment, and have them participate in the conversation, because sometime, we don't know when, but we will have an elementary math adoption also. So we're doing that. We're so really excited about that. And I've already had lots of people looking at materials and filling out forms.
So Diane, what's the timeline on that then?
Well, we're going to pilot next year. We're going to, we'll get to instructional materials. So at the instructional materials committee meeting, we'll ask to be able to, we'll get approval for pilot. And we're going to try to pilot 2. We haven't decided. We're going to kind of let this be organic and let it kind of grow. And then next year will be a pilot, and then we'll adopt it again next year. So it's a really true pilot. It's not one of those like quick adoptions or the curriculum director just says this is what you're going to use. It's a true math adoption. So we're
Just
excited.
help me understand the process. The instructional materials committee reviews each of the pilot programs, and then they pilot them, and then they review additional,
Right.
there's an additional review prior to the adoption?
Correct.
Okay.
A follow-up question is there like a rubric that you guys use to
Right.
identify those important points in order to move to that?
We're using the 8, I just went to a 3-day seminar with TDG because I hadn't had the TDG training. And we're using the 8 practices. We're going to make sure that everything ties into the 8 practices. And then also OSPI sends out quite a document that we have to go through for racial equity and things like that. It has to be, you know, non-biased, the non-biased. So we're going to do all that. But the main thing is to tie to the 8 practices.
Right,
From,
mathematical practices, right?
Right.
So the benefit of doing a year long is that then you also, if you were interested, when you go out to those buildings, you can also get, you know, kind of feedback. And it is, I did just encourage Diane, take the time. It is expensive to adopt a curriculum, and it's important that people have an opportunity to try something. Because if it doesn't work, they're going to know pretty early, and they're going to be like, we're not going to do this. I'd much rather that be the experience and not adopt it than purchase something and hate it.
Yeah,
I've been part of a lot of that.
and it's not just the purchasing, it's the professional development
Correct.
too, which is the teacher's time.
Correct.
If you have any more interest in this math adoption, I can certainly make you a member of our Google Classroom.
Oh.
Okay. I'll make you a
Sorry.
member of Google Classroom, and you can see like there's already charts and comparisons
Yeah.
going on with the middle school. So, okay.
So when we landed on Eureka Math, I mean, one of the benefits of that was the low cost. And so I'd love to hear the feedback on that, and if there's a reason they're pivoting away from it, or,
And big ideas.
and, well, yeah, right, I had big ideas, but is Eureka at the elementary level? We did the last math, okay, so that was the last math adoption. So just wondering if that was something that we you know, the height, is that one of the curriculum you guys are looking at?
I have samples in my office. Nobody's asked for them. At the last meeting, I explained I have Eureka samples. But one thing I just take a little bit of a
Yeah.
sidewalk if I can is the Eureka materials are, the printing is what was killing us. You know, we were buying them and then we had Bethel print for us. But now I've done some research and Travis and I met with the representative from Eureka Map and he can give us the
Online.
online
Digital
piece.
copy.
Yeah, and the teachers can do what they pick and choose and the kids can do it at home and all the bells and whistles with that. And it would eliminate one of our other platforms, Zern. It's still less than the printing from Bethel. So we're kind of excited about where we're going with Eureka and the online platform.
Is it just through online or digital? Is that,
Yes, it's a digital thing, but it's through Eureka.
okay, but what I'm saying is that we need to probably be thinking about the people that don't have access to the internet and to make sure that we're equitable.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm the equity, the equity poker all the time in different conversations. So, right. And the idea is that what happens is teachers will put into the print and then not use it all. So it's kind of a waste. This way they can purposefully print what they want themselves for the online. Okay, that was a little bit, that was elementary, but we're moving on. Instructional materials committee, we kind of touched on that. Just going to, you know, we've always do it every spring, and it hasn't been much going on because we haven't been adopting. But this year it's going to get a little bit more active. So
And we have community members on that
correct.
panel. And how are those being selected, or are they already?
We haven't yet.
Okay, because I know I've sat on that before and I was invited to be on it. I'm just curious your process of how you're going to.
I've always been on it too. I've been invited. Well,
Yeah.
voluntold. You know, that I
Right,
loved it
yeah.
because that was what I love. And so I might have to call Michael and see what the process is, or do we just people that have shown interest? Like, you know, every so often I'll get phone calls about the curriculum and what's going on and this, that, and maybe those are the people you write down. So
I don't know. I'm not trying to instruct. I just think as a parent who was really interested and curious, and that I was invited, but it would have been great to advertise through the district. We have these two positions coming up. You know, if you're interested, please submit a letter of interest, and that would give you or whoever's forming that committee, you know, the opportunity to have a pool of some, because sometimes, I mean, maybe they're really great people who wouldn't be front of mind for a principal to bring forward.
right, and everybody has a gift, don't they? And so with our great communication and with Allison and everything, we have platforms now that will get out to a lot of people.
Right, and it's one more layer of just community involvement. People feel like they can be heard.
So that's a good idea. Thank you, Ron. I will certainly advertise that. Curriculum audit. Again, I'm a systems person, and as we get a little bit further down, we're going to talk about MTSS and UDL, Universally Designed Learning. And we really strongly believe that a strong tier one, that's an equity issue too, because everybody deserves the same opportunities, the same education, the same teaching, the same materials, everything in your tier one. Tier one is your foundation, so it has to be strong. So we're going to go through, and it's not going to be a gotcha, but we're just going to walk through the building. I know I think Kristen Glasswitz and I, and we're going to look and just see who's using our adopted material. And I have to say that, you know, when we've been pivoting, people have been kind of just trying to survive, and they've gathered things off teacher pay teachers, or there may have been other things on the outside that we've been using as a necessity, really. But now we want them to focus on tier one and give really, you know, good instruction with our adopted materials. So we're going to walk around and just do a quick curriculum audit. Just take a percentage of, we walked into 10 classes and 80% of the teachers were using our adopted curriculum to teach.
When you said walk-in,
We're doing it in April for,
like a walkthrough, I mean, do you just go in?
we're
the
just going to walk through and
classroom
have the principals take us through. And I've been doing some,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the principals are going to be with us, and we're just going to kind of walk through, and nobody, you know, I don't know if it's 4 minutes, but not everybody knows. They won't know when we're coming. Anyway, it's not a question. We're just with the data, so the principals can say, boy, my staff has been using the materials and they're doing a great job, or, you know, we need to tighten up, and that's non-negotiable, use adopted curriculum.
Also might be a good time to say, you're not using it, are there holes in this curriculum?
Sure.
And let's look at what needs to be better.
Yeah, instead of saying you gotta use
Yeah.
a curriculum,
But
ask them
Why do you
why.
is there
Yeah.
something that we aren't providing for you
Correct.
that needs to be filled? I think that's going to be super
Yes.
important.
And we have a lot of supplemental materials that we've approved that they're using also. So we just want to make sure, and I have to be really honest, I've been walking around to all the elementaries and, because middle school and high school weren't in, but, it's not been 100%. Allison and I walked through Columbia Crest and, oh, wow, you guys had 100%. Every class we walked in was using adopted curriculum, never using it well, so good for them. And then principal walkthroughs, this is another thing that we used to do a lot of, go in and then get feedback. If we look at the 5D framework and were they doing targets, were they doing all the things that are part of the 5Ds, the structures that we're supposed to be doing. And principals would take data on that and give, and we come together and talk about it. This is where we kind of get some more work on calibration, and it goes, connecting it back to TPAP and the evaluation system. So we're starting those again. And this is really exciting, the roadmap for University Design Learning and MTSS,
Could you tell me what MTSS is? I'm sorry.
multi-tiered student support.
Okay, got it.
And there again, there's a great marriage there with those two. So it's a systems thing. We were talking to the principals, and we've been part of WASLA many times, but this year we were part of WASLA. And but between WASLA and Principal PLC and nuts and bolts meetings, we were really consuming a lot of the principals' time. So we asked them, what would be beneficial? We know that you guys, they were trying to get reentry plans done and all this stuff. What would be the most beneficial? And they said, if we could just really get grounded in UDL, because we started it last year, and there's a book that they're supposed to have been reading, but would you guys take us through a book study on that? And let's really get grounded in UDL. And in WASLA, we were doing MTSS. So we kind of married the two, and we created this roadmap. And one meeting we'll do module 1, which is chapter 1 of the book. And then the next meeting, we do like kind of nuts. We're going to talk about MTSS and the procedures. And how that's working is we're taking the work we did with WASLA, and we're keeping our WASLA coach, Joy, Lansdowne, and we're keeping her, and she's working with us to coach us through this work with the principal. Am I making sense? It's kind of convoluted, but we're taking two roads, MTSS and UDL, and we're kind of marrying them. And by the end of this process, we'll have one system. So, so the principals are meeting every other week for an hour. We're working through this roadmap, and so they'll be able to then take this information that we're grounding them in and use it with their staff next year. So they'll be the authorities, and they'll be the wise ones, and they'll be able to work with their staff on University Design Learning and MTSS. I know that's kind of a little bit convoluted, but it's really important work that we're doing. Any questions? Okay. And then the comprehensive sex education piece. I'm working with another district. We're working kind of together to make sure we're in compliance, that we're in walking step in step with our community as far as we put this in. And as we did a little bit of an audit with it, we're in good shape. We're in total compliance. There's one piece that we may have to adjust, that where they want it in the instruction in 2 different years, and we do it all in 1 year, something like that. But it's not a content adjustment that we have to do. Our content and materials that have been approved by our community and approved by the board are still in line with the education and compliance.
Which district are we working with?
I'm working with White River on that one. I've made some really great, learn from Creston about collaborating and reaching out and networking with people. And they said that their community, well, we both have been going to the Puget ESD classes and all the things from OSPI. And we felt like some of the instruction was a little bit fuzzy. So we're trying to bounce it off each other and make sure we're crystal clear on what their expectation is and then what our community's expectations are, and not deviate from that.
I'm sorry, Diane, which district was that?
White River, Lori, her name's Lori sorry, her last name, excuse me, that word. Okay,
I do think, so a question, are you still going to have a community meeting around? Okay, good.
in the fall, or maybe before, we haven't quite worked that out.
Well, and Diane, I think the most important thing out of that information is that we are in compliance.
Right.
So,
But
Anything
how do we
moving forward-
communicate that to
Yes.
our community so they understand that?
Good idea. Maybe some kind of community forum.
I think that would be great. They could ask any questions and then you could have those people who are teaching it. Just,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have, we don't have to adopt any new curriculum. These are,
correct,
I just think an informational opportunity for
Right.
parents is really key.
right.
Yes, you're spot on with that. I just, matter of fact, I have a call and made an appointment with a mom who has an incoming kindergartner, and that's her first question, was sex ed.
And I think we
Where
should-
are we? with
I
that?
think we should do it in the spring
Okay,
because I think that will impact our enrollment. I really do.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely.
So, if we
To
can,
alleviate fears.
yes, absolutely.
And to just, calm the waters and to
And this is
have
what social,
families understand.
parents don't know what social emotional learning is. It
Right.
would be really nice for them to be able to hear, this is what our social emotional curriculum is, this is what we're teaching. And I just think, it's a great opportunity for us to all of us, including myself, to have that kind of refresher. But the spring, so that people are enrolling their students, feel comfortable in the fall.
And
That's right.
revisiting the mindfulness, the
Yeah,
growth
absolutely.
mindset, the yoga calm, all
Yeah.
of the strategies that we have. And that is all part of, alleviating anxiety. Good.
I'm just gonna go back just one step to the roadmap. I felt like that was a little bumpy, fuzzy. Kristen and I would be happy to do a full presentation on that for you guys, because it is
Yeah,
kind of a big
I'd
deal.
like to, yeah.
Yeah,
hear more of it.
and it's
It's a lot of
really important.
alphabet soup, so.
Yeah, I
think,
couldn't
Yeah,
read the
yeah.
roadmap very well, so I was
Yeah,
hoping
I
to
know,
ask
and
you a question.
I'm kind of, I don't wanna go over my time,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of a big deal. I just wanted to list it, and I probably started going too deep. So that would be a full presentation, and you guys will really like that.
So Dan, I think a request from me at least, with you and Kristen, is that when we're presenting those acronyms,
Right.
maybe you guys can
Right,
spell
yeah.
it out so that we know
You're right.
exactly what those acronyms are standing for.
Right.
I've been told that before, thank you. Because sometimes we get stuck in that
Yeah.
stuff. There's no, yeah. University Design Learning is what UDL stands for, and it's federal and state. And we're in the first cohort 1 for the state of Washington for UDL, and we've been working on that for 2 years now. And then MTSS is multi-tiered system of support for students, and that's kind of been universal. It's been what we've been doing.
Is that green, yellow, red, that tiered system, or is it?
It's tier 1, it's what everybody gets, the support that every student should get. When I talk about a strong tier 1, there's social-emotional tier 1 support, there's academic tier 1 support, there's attendance tier 1 support. It's what tier 1 is what everybody gets, and it all should be equal. That's the equity piece. That a kid in second grade at Weyerhaeuser, Noel, and Columbia Crest should all be getting a strong tier 1. And then there's tier 2 for, it's a little bit more support. And then tier 3 is your top level support. So anyway, so I just wanted to clear that up and not go any deeper because it seems a little muddy. Okay, and then, look at that. And then ed technology, and this is Travis Rush's world, and I've learned so much from him, and I'm very grateful that he's part of our team in teaching and learning. These are all the different things that he has, and what I want to let you guys know is Debbie's going to send you out an additional slideshow, and each one of these topics that we're going to go through quickly has its own slide, and it's interactive, and you can go in there and you can look at his blended learning team and what they're doing, and all the different things. So I just wanted to do one slide about ed tech, and then you'll get, like I said, from Debbie, my extended slideshow with the extra slide. Okay, so the first thing that Travis has been working on is the LMS, another acronym. It's the Learning Management System. I'm going to click on that really quickly. Now, we're going to go into the High School Social Studies LMS, and we can look at
Yeah, I got the invitation on that one, and I think.
Oh, did you
Carmen
guys
got
get-
it
I did too. I responded and he said, just to let you know, I'm just setting this up. So
Yeah.
it didn't have any, it didn't
It's
have any
empty.
content.
Oh, it's
yet.
empty. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
it was
content.
empty.
Oh, you can't. I'm sorry, share this tab.
Maybe he's added,
There you go.
that was 2 days ago. Maybe he's
Yeah.
added.
Okay, so for example, back in the day when new teachers, and this is kind of all tied into TCAP and our mentor test program, when you were a teacher, you got a notebook and said, here's what you teach, here's how you do it, here's what's going on. Now we don't have that. Instead, we're building these LMSs. And here's an example of high school history. And so you're a new teacher, you just landed in Eatonville High School, and I'm going to teach 10th grade social studies or history. But here's all the standards. So that it's kind of small, I know, but you're going to go in to social studies standards, and you have them all in one place. Okay? And so that's kind of like the first part of the LMS. And then you'll go in. I'm sorry. Oh, shoot. Well, that was just probably getting it in. Anyway, it just has all the source material. So then
Is
there's
that
all the
what-
lessons.
Yeah, I think the LMS that Travis was sharing with us is more of a portal for all the curriculum
Yeah,
content.
Right.
And it can also be a collaborative space for the teachers and students.
So anyway, it has it in all different areas, and I'm sorry, I've lost my presentation.
I think it's also on the third page here, under tech ed.
The next group he's got is the blended learning team.
And I think the third bullet, instead of LMC, I bet you that's LMS.
Yes. The blended learning team
Yeah.
is a group of teachers that have volunteered to work with under Travis, and they meet regularly. And they're all volunteers. It's a great group of people, and they are the tech ed wing of UDL, of University Design Learning. They're going to personalized instruction and blended learning with Travis. Tech ed scope and sequences, he's developed that with updated coding, digital citizenship, and programs and application. PD, he has a digital citizenship program. The kids who are not following the rules and doing what's right with their computers are, they take these digital citizenship classes. And he provided a slideshow to the administration on how to use that. And another great idea that we had was the Sub Academy. What I was hearing from teachers in the different pivots, and they had some concerns about, well, we don't have enough subs. Are we going to have subs that, when we go back to face-to-face and different things? And then we were also hearing from the subs that I'm a little concerned about my safety. I don't know how to use Google Classroom, these different things. So Travis and I and Kristen got together and we created a Sub Academy, and we paid 1 day of sub pay, which all the subs to come in, and they could take it at home, or it was a full day worth of training module that they took, or they could come in and be with Travis and do all the modules with him and with his support. And that's been a big success. And the teachers have been grateful that the subs could all just do simple things like roll online, do lunch count online, and get kids logged into Google Classrooms and knew what that was about. Because this is called kind of new, if you've been a traditional sub. And the subs felt safe because they knew the protocols for COVID, they knew about the masks, they knew all the 7 layers that were in place, so they would be safe, and they felt safer coming into the building. Travis also manages a PE and Health Digital Citizenship grant. It's a $14,000 grant, and he's been working with the middle school and Columbia Crest in assisting materials. And also there's a big bank of videos for teaching, and he's made blended learning videos. So if teachers need some instruction in a certain part of blended learning, they can just go in to the bank of videos that he's created and watch it and learn it. And this has been really valuable. For example, in the marriage between, although IT and tech are separate, they do have to coexist together because one example is the new TVs that went into Eatonville. Travis has to know that they've been installed from IT, so he can go in and do the module or train the teacher in person how to use the TV, how to cast to the TV, and all that. So although IT and tech ed are separate, there does have to be crossover in marriage, and they've done that really well. So that's one example.
This is just helping me understand the new org chart, if you will. So who is doing the inventory? It's awesome that they have those TVs in the Eatonville. Who's responsible for really implementing, you know, the update of those in other buildings? Is that Travis's responsibility, or is that?
No, that
No,
would be through
Okay.
Tyler in conjunction with John, so that his group get them out. So
Okay, so they do all the inventory of the hardware. Travis's responsibility is to do the instruction of the use.
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you for helping me understand.
Okay, and I'm sorry, my screen, my thing not showing. Thank you. Well, that's great. I don't have my last screen in front of me, but I know what it is. We're going to talk a little bit about student achievement and disaggregation of data. As we were working with WASLA, part of it is to look at student data and achievement and how can we improve Tier 1 instruction and MTSSE. Again, everything's really tied together. And Kim, through her wonderful work with 5 Labs, has gotten us connected so that we have a dashboard that we can put all of our assessment data into, and then teachers and principals, right now principals have access to it, and we can bring up charts and for example, one of the ones we really looked at was D's and F's, freshman D's and F's data, and we looked at attendance data. We now have the math data from fall and winter that we can put into 5 Labs, and they bring up all those amazing charts that they do. We have the cadence data, and this has become really valuable in us looking at where we need to focus PD for the principals and PD for staff, and how to fill those gaps in instruction. And those are the 4 things that Preston asked me to talk about. I apologize for my screen going away. Do you guys have any questions?
In that tech ed,
Mhm.
is that consistent to, do we call it ed tech or tech ed?
Tech ed, I'm sorry.
I think your handout said ed tech.
Yeah, it says educational technology, and then we call it tech ed. I guess we need to be consistent, thank you.
I just wanted to. Thank
So
you.
I just kind of want to end with the beginning of my handout. And as we transition to face-to-face, and hope, you know, I get emotional when I think about all the wonderful kids that are back in the joy and happiness that is back. We have been just surviving in a good way, but I think we've done a lot of things to just get through this. But now COVID's still here, and I realize that, but our umbrella needs to be that we need to thrive now. We need to thrive, not just survive. And we're moving to a new phase of pandemic, and again, like I said, we just want to move toward thriving in all aspects of our Eatonville School District community. Students need to feel loved and have sense of belonging in their spaces. This is the most important part for me right now and for us. Teachers need to connect with each other, and we really made some progress with parents. We've connected with parents in a way that we've never connected before. Teachers have like vision into their homes. They've had a vision into the teachers' homes. I mean, there's a connection there that we need to nurture and keep. And so the lessons learned during distance learning should not be lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
It's under tech ed, and it's just because it's new, and I'm curious, and I feel like I have so much to learn.
Sure.
It's
And I
like,
kind of
you never
blew it.
stop learning. No, you didn't.
I kind of blew with the tech ed piece.
No, you didn't at all. I'm just so curious. So one of the things it says technology curriculum support, training and implementation. And so I'm going back to that curriculum adoption piece. And so is this in his wheelhouse where he makes sure, and how do we make sure that online curriculum is meeting and is approved basically under our curriculum implementation. You said that you're going back and making sure that people are using adopted material. I think that's fabulous. Is Travis' responsibility to make sure that any online material runs through? Does the board approve that? Where do we land now? This is all new.
Yeah,
This is all new, and we don't know our place. And what does that
Especially
look like?
in a distance learning and remote learning, it is more important that we are vigilant in how do we do the vetting process for digital curriculum.
Yes. Yes.
Instruction.
so
And
right
there
now,
should be a vetting process.
there should, then we need to work on that, and thank you. If this is new, and this will be a new
Yeah.
part of the curriculum review. As far as the training, a lot of these platforms are pieces of our adopted curriculum. For example, Journeys has a piece of online, has an online platform. And Read Side by Side came out with the units on digital and Eureka. And so with that, I feel really safe because that's our adopted approved.
Yeah, and that's fabulous.
Yeah,
But are you referring to like Clever and some of those other things?
What
Not
about
Clever,
the supplemental?
Right,
curriculum?
any of the
That's-
supplemental
yeah.
curriculum,
like
is that,
Zern and
Yeah, what's the process? of
happy
that?
numbers and things like that, yeah.
or something that a teacher just, teachers pay to pay, or teachers pay teachers, or whatever it is that people are just gathering, is that, and I'm just trying to figure out again, that org chart, is that Travis that, takes a look at that, is that a building
That
principal
needs to come through
issue?
teaching and learning.
Okay, so that would come from you.
And one of the things, just a little step towards trying to systematize that and make it, to vet it, is that we want principals to make sure that when they're approving idea money for curriculum, that it goes through the, right? So that's kind of something we've started to put out there. If a teacher pay teacher wants to pay herself with her idea money or something like that,
Right, okay.
we need to make sure that we're not approving curriculum that isn't approved curriculum. So that's kind of the first step that I put out there, and we're gonna continue to work on that.
Do you have a team that does that vetting process with you? Because another component of that is the student data privacy for all those digital online.
Mhm.
Are we keeping track of that so that we know that the vendors are?
That works through IT.
Those are pieces that we have not had in play yet as far as being able to monitor. It's something that we have, knew there was a gap that we have started looking for, to address the original question of the technology curriculum. Travis more works in the world of how do you use the Chromebooks that we all have now? How do you use those on a daily basis as a part of the instructional piece that they're learning? So not the online curriculum, but more the actual, how do we incorporate technology into the instruction?
So the online still sits in the teaching and learning
Yes.
department, which there's not a process
There's
yet
not.
for vetting.
That's true, and that's something we really do need to work on. And that's all part of this coming back to thriving, that this is what we're doing and we're gonna move forward and use it.
That it was something that was identified as part of the need for that whole curriculum audit, was that there are a lot of pieces out there that we need to really take a close look at and make sure that they are aligned.
And I believe it's one of the requirements for risk management tool is the student, the PII piece of that, so.
And we want teachers to feel trusted and have freedom. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to go get,
Right, right.
because they are the professionals. They amaze me every time I'm in there. So it's a balance. We have to hit that legal and appropriate and professional balance, along with giving them the freedom and the trust. So it's kind of the work, part of the work too, is that piece, to give the teachers that.
Yeah, I don't think we should be micromanaging in any way, shape,
No.
or form. Just trying to understand how, because you can imagine there are highly sensitive areas that we would want to make sure. With math and history, you can hit standards, but you want to make sure you're doing it in an appropriate way.
So system, yeah, thank you. I appreciate the time tonight. I'm sorry I went over a little bit. I'll go get this in. And again, I apologize for during check. I had a check.
Quite all right.
Who would have think?
It happens.
Not control.
But
Thank you.
you're
I'll
on the
be,
paper backup, which is
Right.
fabulous.
I'll go get Chris.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Diane.
I'll be back to go to the policy.
If
Okay.
I have a couple more questions, but I don't
Oh,
want to.
no, please,
No,
that's fine.
not right now.
No, no.
Can I send the
Yes.
email to?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Come on in.
Would you send it to all of us?
Yes, I was gonna,
Okay, thank you.
I'll just, do you mind?
You don't need to come get me. I heard
You
y'all.
heard it.
we heard you.
I'm gonna get each in a folder. So this has
Excellent.
confidential information in it, so I
Better
just
have
need
the
the
orange.
folder back afterwards.
Yep.
Look at that. Nice job, Diane. That was, that's okay, I'll see if I can get mine to work too, so. Okay. So the first thing in your folder, okay, I'm gonna start out, hi, I haven't seen you guys for a long time, so nice to actually see you guys, so, and in person and not on a screen. So the first thing in your folder, it's just a list of my whole department on front and back. So I am only going to, Preston only is having me talk to you guys about special ed and COVID and kind of what we did during the closure and all of those kind of things. But if there's anything on that list you want me to in the future, just give me a holler and I can come back anytime, so.
We've got your number.
Okay, yep, absolutely. So let me see if I can get my slideshow presented.
I
Okay.
don't know why your list isn't longer. We need to make it longer.
Nori changed the font, so it would all fit on 2 pages, because it went on to 3, so. Okay, Diane, do I go my entire screen or a window?
Window.
A tab?
Don't listen to me, but mine are not.
Which one is it?
A tab.
A tab.
There you go, should be right there.
Okay, so do I just open this then?
It's not working, you have to share it.
How do I do that?
Shake it back, leave it out.
Don't know why Travis
Present
isn't
now.
here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Next time.
here we go.
Share tab, is your tab open?
You know as far as your.
There we go.
Walk away and it'll adapt.
Let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, you guys see that?
Yeah.
I gotta put my glasses on.
I think I gotta put mine, then they see the mask, you gotta hold your nose down, so you don't breathe on your glasses.
Okay, so I'm going to share kind of what we did during COVID and starting with our closure back in the spring. So I'm gonna start with some demographics. So here's kind of our student body demographic in special ed, and granted, this is just special ed. So we have out-of-district placements. So I have out-of-district placements in Puyallup, Bethel, Northwest Soil, and actually School of the Blind. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids that are being serviced out of district for a variety of reasons based on their needs that we can't provide those services here in the district just because we're smaller. We do handle birth to 3 services and we do contract that out. And those are just special ed services for, you know, kids that usually pediatricians refer that need some either speech or OT or some behavior. Usually those services are provided in the family's home. So they don't like come here, the providers go into the family home. They were doing it virtually during this whole time, so they said that was quite a challenge for them, because those are little people. Can you imagine a 1-year-old online? Anyways, so it's been a challenge. So then we go on to what we have in our district. So out of the 3 elementaries, you can see we have preschool in all our elementaries. We have resource classrooms in our elementaries. They'll contain both at Weyerhaeuser and at Eatonville. that is increase of services because our population has increased for those needs. I have lab services, I have ELL, so that's that English, second language. And then I have highly capable at all those schools too. So, and then at Columbia Crest, we have preschool, resource. They are a title and lab kids get served at Columbia Crest. And I do not have any ELL students up there right now. There's just nobody up there that qualifies for services, and they do have highly capable students. And then at the middle school, we have resource, self-contained. We have title and lab at the middle school, ELL and highly capable. And at the high school, we have resource, self-contained. We have a transition program. That's our 18 to 20-year-old kids that are working that are doing phenomenal this year. Lab services, ELL, and highly capable. So that's kind of our demographic of the students. And out of all those students, we have about 250 special ed students. And I will tell you with a lot of the families, choosing to stay home and do homeschool this year, my population numbers, and Kim will tell you this, have not declined at all. If anything, they have increased. So,
Went down by one month.
yeah, but that doesn't last very long. So, any questions about that or what those programs look like?
Can I ask
or-
you a question about our ELL? So you
Sure.
have ELL at every building except for Columbia Crest. Is there a specialist in each building? Is
No.
there a teacher with this? Okay, so what does that
No,
look
so
like?
our ELL services, so we have 11 students total in the entire district. It really encompasses about 3 families. And when we have students that have ELL services, we have staff trained in those buildings. And they're classified staff right now, and they're under my direction.
So they don't have to have,
No.
no endorsement. Do we have any teachers with that endorsement?
So we do have a middle,
We have one at Warehouser Elementary.
yeah,
And one
yeah.
at middle school.
So it depends. So there's so many different types of ELL services kids can qualify for. None of ours are truly second language learners. They are, they all speak English fluently. They really do. They're all on that border of transitioning out, actually almost all 11 of them. And I have a couple that have dual services in special ed and ELL. So you're like, is it a disability or is it a so.
So is it an interaction with the parents that those services are there because maybe their parents aren't?
Kids have to take a test and qualify for services, so that's how they qualify. And what they score on that test determines what type of service they get. So,
Thank you.
nope, I can go into that.
I know.
We can do a whole day conversation
just
about
wanted
that,
to-
so, yeah.
Yeah, because we had so few, I was curious how you were handling that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So, okay. Okay, so here we go. Here's the nitty gritty. So spring of 2020, we shut down in March of 2020. And then my teachers had to do what was called continuous learning plan, created for, at that time, 220 students. So in your handout, the redacted file is a sample of a continuous learning plan, so you kind of know what my teachers had to go through. General ed teachers didn't have to do this, special ed teachers did. We accounted for every minute on a student's IEP and provided service for that. So this was the continuous learning plan during closure. So this is what we had to follow, okay? So not only did they have to write IEPs, they also had to do this plan and meet with parents and decide what type of services and all of that. So you guys can look through that. That is for your purview. Okay, so then March through June, all the IEP minutes on IEPs and continuous learning plans were accounted for through live instruction. There was minimal packet work that was sent home. So I was a pretty strict person saying we are going to do live instruction. So because our kids deserve it. And so my teachers were on all the time. So they were getting their minutes and there's a sample schedule there, and I put some sample schedules in there so you can kind of see what my teachers did and sent home to their families. So that like on this one, that's like, yeah, or hot dog, no hamburger, no hot dog. Oh, it's upside down. Oh, well, there's, okay, it's two-sided. But if you see, it says on there, okay, this is where 30 to 60 minutes of adapted service minutes, these are the activities, for this week only. So they turned this, they have these in Google Classroom, teachers and parents could access that, so they would know they did live meets, they did individual services, my SLPs, my OTs, all of them did live service during this whole time of COVID.
Did you run into any families that needed additional assistive tech to be online?
Not many.
Okay. And how did we meet those needs?
So we did do packets for those families. We did phone call meetings with those families. And the other thing is, we did bring in one-to-one in person during that time too for families that did not have connectivity. So we did do that. Okay. Let me make sure I covered everything on that. So with saying that, you might know that a lot of districts are having to provide compensatory recovery services for students in special ed because those districts did not meet those needs of students during the closure. Right now, we don't have any of that. So, yeah, so that's amazing. That is not me.
That's amazing.
It
That
is
is
amazing.
staff.
I have to say, I have gotten more amazing compliments about your staff from the community through all of this. They have just been so grateful and honored to be a part of.
They have worked very, very, very hard.
I've heard nothing but great things.
And they have changed their schedule so many times.
Yeah.
Every
Oh,
time
yeah,
I would
okay,
go
don't
in and
ever
say,
mention schedule
I
for them
know.
because they will have PTSD. Because they probably have changed it 5 to 10 times.
yes.
So since this whole thing. Every time I would tell them, they just roll their eyes and they'd be like, okay. So, okay, the other thing in your folder I wanted to show is, so like this was a sample of Ms. Honaker's class. This was her Google Classroom. I just took the slides. But you can see how she broke up her day so parents could go in and say, these are the activities. They have links. They did this every week during the closure, just so you guys know that. And then to account for all the minutes, I gave you a sample of her logs, okay? So this is, this is one student on here. Here's all the service areas this child has. This is how she met the minutes. Here are the notes on the side of the contact she had with the parent. And if you look on the bottom, she has a tab for every one of her students in her classroom. So every kid we could account for every minute on that student IEP. That was accounted for, so.
Kristen, is this normal? Is this a normal thing or is this because of COVID? Is this what they would typically do?
So I expect all my teachers to do that, even not during COVID.
Okay, so.
But it was very important to them during COVID, to keep track of, so that's how they set that
So
up.
this was existing pre-COVID?
Yes, it looked a little bit different. They all kind of have different models of it, but that was Christie's. It was just, I just wanted you to see her classroom, her schedule, and then see how she, so you had a kind of a picture of how it, flowed.
And this is just for one student?
Yeah, but if you look on the bottom, there's a tab for each one of our students. Yeah, but that is,
But that's,
yeah, so we have tons of data. And I will tell you, our kids didn't regress. So our kids did great. So I'm pretty proud of my staff. So.
Well, and so may I just say, we lobbied with the federal legislators to give some kind of leniency on the special education requirements, and that was not accepted. And so it was still a very, very high bar when basically we were all shut in the spring. And so the fact that her staff and Kristen, you led that work is monumental. And we are very lucky I hope that our special education families know how much those kids.
I think
Cared about.
you know what, I think they're happy, I mean, we really haven't heard. We had a couple families bow out, okay, that was expected, totally expected, you know what I mean? So, because I think back in March, they were thinking, oh, it's only gonna be for a couple weeks,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, yeah, but they all came back when we started in the fall, so. So here we go, in the fall, so we started in-person learning 4 days a week, until Thanksgiving, and let me tell you how that looks a little bit. So at the elementary level, you had your A and your B schedule. So the students would come and be with their gen ed teachers on, let's say they were an A student. They'd be with their gen ed teachers on their A day, and then on the B day, they would come and be with their special ed teachers. So they were getting 4 days of instruction, so instead of just the 2. And then I did have teachers that did some live instruction on Wednesdays with them also. So that went on until Thanksgiving, and then we made the decision to close at Thanksgiving because numbers were so high. And then the distance learning just kicked right back in. My teachers were raring to go because they've been doing it. So it was, were they happy about it? No, they wanted to keep their kids, but they also wanted to make sure everybody was safe. So, okay. January, we rolled back into our 4-day-a-week. I said, let's just go back to our schedule. They came back, and currently we have all students preschool through transition 5 days a week. So they are in person, and they continue. I've been working on their evaluations, and I go into their Google Classroom. They're continuing to put stuff in their Google Classroom, so parents can access it digitally also. So if a kid's out for for whatever reason, the 10 days or whatever, they have that instruction with them. And so here I just want to show you an example. Let's see if I can get my video to work. So this is, I'm going to set this up. So this is actually a para-educator doing a breakout room with a student, and then the special ed teachers monitoring that instruction 6 feet away. And this is a student that was sent home for the 10-day quarantine, so that is still happening even when they're at home, just so you guys know that. Now, let's see if I can get it to work. Oh, sorry. So that's Christy over here, and then that's over there. So she's monitoring the instruction, but the parents actually doing it. So they're doing some amazing things. And the other thing like they're doing, so Christy has 2 sides of the portable. She does that. The kids will be online on their computers during the day, but she'll be on the other side of the portable monitoring that. So that's happening during the day, even though that they're back. So the kids are still being used to being online. Yeah. Other things that happened during COVID. So on Wednesdays, we really had a great opportunity to do our PLCs. And we did it, we did building fed PLCs, but then we did like groups. So we had a preschool PLC, we had a resource room PLC, so all those teachers sat together. We had a middle school PLC, we had a high school PLC. Then we had a self-contained PLC, which included the middle, elementary, middle, and high school. And they would actually come up here in person and meet, because on Wednesdays, I kind of made my teachers come in. So it was an expectation for me that they needed to be in-house. We also met as a whole department on those Wednesdays too. So really, if you ever looked at my calendar on a Wednesday, it was completely covered because we were in and out in all these meetings, and it was great. The team teaching across the grade levels happened also. That is a picture of 2 classrooms, one at Weyerhaeuser, one at Eatonville, with all their paraeducators and their students on doing live lessons together. So that is the one thing that we did. And then we added the middle school into this group also. So we had elementary self-contained and middle school self-contained, all teaching the same thing at the same time, and everybody together. It was, so I subbed at the middle school when my teacher was out and I had to participate. Okay. I was dancing and singing and my teachers are laughing at me, but I mean, it was a thing of beauty, and they can do this now. And they're like, we're going to continue this. This is not going to stop for us. So, because they really enjoy working with each other. So, yeah, that, I mean, that's kind of it. We had student growth, everything, and, it's been great. So COVID has not been a real negative thing in my world, so.
Right on.
Any questions?
Thank
No
you for your
question.
special ed teachers.
You know,
Yeah.
in any year, that would have been a great report. But,
Yeah.
This year, that is just astounding. That's
Yes.
tremendous amount of passion and caring and work to achieve that, so.
Yeah, they have been troopers, I will tell you, and they're doing phenomenal work, so I'm very proud of them.
And I love the silver lining that now parents understand Google Classroom, because I know for years, teachers have had this tool for a long time and parents haven't known how to access it to support their students. So the fact that your parents have got that down, that's.
Well, and I will tell you, so, I was doing one of their evaluations, and I went back and looked at their Google Classroom, and I was watching their old videos and all of that of them teaching. And I was packing up in my office because the students are like involved and the parents are walking around behind them. They're like, get out of my screen. Like, I mean, they're like, get out of here. And it's so funny because they're like, we're trying to focus and you're in my way, parents. And so it was very sweet. And so, yeah, I think this is just something we've had to learn to do and we're going to continue it. So.
I think you probably got more engagement, right?
Well, you know what, we did, and the other thing we learned is we can do IEP meetings, and we don't have to be in the same room anymore. And it's actually, we're getting more participation
gonna
with
say,
parents, and
yes.
so it's lovely.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I don't know if we'll ever go back to in-person ones, I don't know, I mean, we will, but it's been great, we've had a lot of engagement with families, so, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank
for all
you.
your-
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Kristen.
Kristen,
Well,
this is
that's,
your-
yeah, that's
Oh,
great.
thank you.
And Kristen, so you asked about special education during COVID, so I went in and I said, Kristen,
No, this is
want to talk about special education and COVID, so.
Thank
So
you.
if you want to talk about any of the other huge list that she has.
Yes,
Get a point.
quite.
Yes, you guys
Do
can
I
have
need to
any
email you, or do you want me to start listing?
Just whatever you want, I don't care. Just come
Yeah.
see me, whatever you
You
want.
do need
and
this.
just- Yeah, yep,
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you,
leave it
Kristen.
at
Thank you
that.
guys so much.
Good job.
Okay. Tim,
I
talk to us
have
about money.
very lackluster and brief comments to make, as on the financial piece.
That's always good, right?
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is actually, yes. As far as enrollment, we did actually see a slight uptick in March.
Yay.
Our students are starting to come back. And we're hopeful that as far as next fall, that we will start to see a steady increase back to our pre-COVID days. So that would be, Krista and Dee can hardly wait. Look, they're coming back. I then have secretaries that email me and say, got another student today. So we're doing okay. And then I just wanted to add a couple quick updates. We've been following SSB, ESSB 5120, which of course is the transportation funding bill. It has passed out of the Senate. It's currently in committee in the House. It has been totally revamped at this stage in the game. What there is now is a pot of safety net funding for transportation that can only be accessed in the event that federal funds are depleted. So ESSER funds are expected to supplant and not supplement any of those transportation losses. We are very fortunate that the work we've done the last couple of years has us in a position where we can actually use our fund balance to supplant, and we can use ESSER to supplement, at least for this year. If they don't fix the funding mechanism in the background, we will probably have to use some of the ESSER 3 funding to supplant in the upcoming 2 years until ridership is back to a sustainable position. But because we did have kids back in person in October, and we do have kids back now, our losses will not be nearly as severe as for some districts. So that is really good news in terms of what we're going to be able to do with our ESSER funding. OSPI did release guidelines, very brief initial guidelines on ESSER 3. It does look like it's going to cover the same time frame as ESSER 2, so it will all need to be spent by the end of 2023. And other than that, They were very clear in their indication that all ESSER funding is a supplant situation versus a supplement. But again, I think we're in good shape as far as being able to be a little different in how we approach it. And that's really all I have tonight, unless you had any questions over the financial report.
I did want to add one. I was with a demographer today with Puget Sound ESD, and one informational piece that I think is important that I didn't really realize is that this incoming kindergarten class across the board in the state of Washington is the largest in birth data in recent history. I'm talking over 10 years. So the anticipation of kindergartner / first graders that were kept out with the addition of this large birth rate will be very interesting. So that was one noted thing. I think that that's important because those are students that we don't know that they're coming. We don't know that they're there unless they've indicated in some way. So we do have our kindergarten enrollment open, but it's still very early and we're still in a pandemic. So more to come on that. Coupled with a very strong housing market. And so the demographer was saying you may see a larger bubble coming in than you anticipate, which is not a bad thing.
Based on our live birth data, we would anticipate that if this was a normal year, we'd have 120 kindergartners. We know that we were missing about 39 last year. If they were to all show up next year, we could have 160 kindergartners. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Kim. And now, House Bill 1660 update. Amy, are you talking to us about 1660?
No, I don't, yeah, I will be, first of all, hi, you guys are so tiny on my screen, but it is good to see you. We put together, Shannon, the document that Debbie included in your packet about the House Bill 1660, kind of the specifics on what that's going to look like for us. Shannon and Krista worked really hard to kind of make sure that that captured accurately kind of where we're at with things. So that's where we're at. There's some pieces that we have to figure out. There's some issues with Skyward and InTouch and how, like how are we tracking the consent and how are we, getting all those logistics in place. So there's a lot of kind of manual things happening at this point, but yeah. So I guess I just wanted to give you guys a chance to look that over and if you had any specific questions. The good news is that we don't have an opportunity gap that's a concern. So, I mean, based on the House bill, so.
So it looks like it's just going to continue to be a work in progress for a while as we figure out how to do these things.
Yes.
Very good.
It all was funded out of our levy.
Pardon?
Yeah, there's no dollars with this.
Right, so this is all funded.
Oh yeah, no, there's no money.
Out of
And it comes out of ASB, so it's.
What if ASB doesn't have sufficient funds, then what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're really trying to be thoughtful about purchases as they're like, so before we even approve a purchase or make a purchase, kind of anticipating the cost, the potential cost before approving things so that we don't run out of funds. And I mean, our ASB has had a pretty good, balance. And I think there was some confusion with a couple ASB advisors ago that they weren't clear that all this carryover was happening. So Kim kind of cleared that up, and we've got people in position now that are really crystal clear on all the budget stuff. But so we're okay for right now. We, obviously our ASB has had, it's been hit pretty hard this year. There's been very, very limited opportunity to make money. Of course, they haven't really spent much either. There's, some things with athletics, like, the officials and some of those kind of things that continue to be a cost. But Yeah, it's tricky just trying to be mindful of that always. And I think everybody's kind of got a good enough understanding of it, in terms of the coaches and even the student leaders and stuff, that they understand that has to be part of the discussion with any planning for purchases.
Very good. Any questions or anything? Okay, well, thank you for the update, Amy, and I expect we'll be talking about it more in the future.
Yes.
Thank you, Amy and Kat.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Here she is.
Okay, let's move on to the month of the military child proclamation.
Yes, well, you will see that it's the month of the military child, and whereas military children are a source of pride, this is paying tribute to military children for their commitment, sacrifice, and unconditional support of our service members. And I know as a former military child, when our parents serve in the military, the children also serve.
Yes,
So
they do.
we want to recognize we do have a large contingency of students. So we're just celebrating them, thanking them.
Very good. Okay, and acknowledge
Mhm.
this is proclamation with children and youth mental health crisis, which is a crisis.
Been a crisis since the beginning.
It has. So I think I've heard some things out of Olympia that make me optimistic that there's real bipartisan support to begin to talk about things to do regarding this. So that's everything I've heard has been encouraging. What do you think, Rhonda? I mean, it sounds like both sides recognize this and are working on it together.
I think was I the only one on the meeting with JT and?
Yeah, I didn't sit down on that one.
Yeah, all right, yeah, and so, I had our day on the Hill with our representatives, and they all are really supportive. Eatonville got a lot of shout outs from them for the great work that you all have been doing, the support of families and children, and really moving kids back into school and understanding the mental health is particularly an issue during all of this. So thank you for being such outstanding leaders and getting us the recognition in that regard, but also they wanted us to know that they were in full support of schools and that they were trying to make sure that they led with children in mind.
Well, and I appreciate this board being really steadfast about the fact that getting kids in face to face and having eyes on them and having them be in the building, during an unsafe time. I mean, we're navigating through this uncharted water, but to make sure that we are going up that river and making sure, instead of talking about recovery, that we're going and accelerating and getting students in. So I want to just really thank the staff for really working hard around the safety measures, and then, committing to having kids face to face, because that will directly address the mental health. It's not going to take it away, but this trauma that we've all been in will be mitigated much more easily and cooperatively with families when they're in school. So we are seeing an end in sight. But it's been a journey for sure.
Indeed.
I want to thank Rhonda for representing all the board, this board to the day. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
You're an easy group to represent.
Well, yes.
Okay, so we have no hearings of individuals and groups tonight. No unfinished business, so new business, we will consider changes to WASDA policies. And is this something we want to do all together? Do we have questions about these?
You want me to make a statement for policy 2125?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so 2125 is sexual health education policy out of WASDA. This is the policy that we This is not a new policy, this is just a wordsmithing, including that all students be provided instruction, and then stipulates out the grade K through 3 instruction. We are very clear that there will be no additional curriculum adopted. It's not an adoption without community input. And Diane is here to really talk about the fact that the adopted curriculum that we have had in the past, she's been reviewing that and aligning that to the law. So Diane, can you just speak real briefly about that?
Sure. The K3 is our second step program, and then, and well, actually K5, the second step program. And then the middle school and high school use Flash, and it's been approved by the district and by the community, by the board. And all of the second steps materials and the second step program fits in with our MTSS and our social emotional learning. So we are just moving, working hard and moving at a speed for the kids and supporting the kids with the materials we have. And then as far as we'll be working with the board and the community on any other movement. But as of right now, we are in total compliance.
And just to be clear, what parents were told in, well, we did probably have a parent meeting this year, did we? Okay. But what they were told in previous years, what they were presented as our instruction material and what their students would be learning is continuing to be the same.
Correct.
So we're hoping to host an informational meeting for parents if they have any questions, because I know that there's a lot of concern around Flash curriculum, but we are, I think, very clear about what we're teaching our students from that curriculum.
Correct. And there has been no change, and there will be no change at this time. We are in compliance with the current law. So that is a good thing for parents to know and understand. And then Diane's office, Teaching and Learning, will do a parent informational in the spring.
And just to know that my office and my work with Lori and White River, we're really watching the guidance that's coming out from the committee on this, from SPI, to make sure that it can be gray and fuzzy, and so we're truly trying to keep it within both of our communities. Idea of what should be.
And that will be working with the board
Right.
to move forward. Okay, good. Do you want me to just keep addressing the other ones? Policy 2413 is really an extension and a reframing around computer science, information, and mastery-based. So broadening the policy, that mastery-based learning, so it's performance-based. And then, so there's just some minor pieces around mastery-based credit, that it's available in ELA, math, science, and CTE courses.
So I think it's interesting here that the high school principal is the one that gets the deciding vote on whether or not that they're going to accept experiential education. Is that something that they will be reaching out to teaching and learning and partnering with? So there'll be a.
To be honest, this is a new policy that Amy and Sheila and I hadn't worked through yet. So we worked through every content area, and Amy, feel free to jump in. We worked through all the content areas on mastery-based learning and have redone the policy. So those are back, I guess I getting ready to be approved by you, but this one is a new one that we hadn't worked through.
I mean, it gives them pretty clear instruction there how you're
Correct.
going to, but I think it would be really important for me as a board member, but also as a parent, to make sure there's equity in the expectation. So that every student, it talks about length of time that you serve and description of how the credits will be determined and completion. I think equity in that, so that all student expectations are equivalent, I think is going to be really important. So that means just clear guidelines.
Right. As we rework this, we'll make it compatible with the other content areas, and it will all be the same.
Yeah.
So I do
think
want
need
to
table.
clarify,
Yeah.
2413 is not a new policy, it's a revision.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Yeah,
so it's not a new. If you'd like to table it
I
and
would
find
like
out
to
if,
table.
These are not things that need to be done
Yeah.
anytime soon, so I agree, there's some.
Especially
do
when
you,
Diana.
do you want to table all of them? Or do
Yeah,
you want to go
because
through?
the new policy for this, the next one,
3112.
That's a new policy, right?
It's
I
a
was
new
gonna ask-
policy that it struck me as, it seems like just redundancy. I mean, we have policy and procedure that covers all of that. It just seems like policy for policy's sake. So I'd be interested to hear more input on it,
The
but
background of
it
that.
doesn't
Well,
seem to change anything or make anything better.
so if I look at 3112, I'm also seeing, I do believe that there could be some political reasons why it's spelled out, but the implementation of CHAMPS, our social emotional learning that's already implemented, our mental health PLC, our whole child initiative.
Right.
I mean, all of those pieces would be included in that. I see 3112 as an aspirational policy to say that we want to nurture a positive, social emotional climate.
So with that said, with the procedure that comes with that policy, would that change as well?
Well, this is a new policy,
Oh,
so
we don't
there
have
isn't
that.
any
There isn't a
procedure
policy.
attached to it,
So
correct?
we need to.
So
then
it's
pull that.
basically saying, yes,
Yeah.
the board is recognizing that there's not one best way to improve, right? So it's very aspirational. In the fourth paragraph, you can see, including continuous cycle of climate improvement around planning. I mean, this is what we do, right? We plan, we evaluate, we do action planning, and then we implement, okay?
I'd like to table this for a little bit.
Okay.
So I can look at the
Me too.
RCW, because I want to see the RCW that
Okay.
they're referencing and make sure that we're aligning appropriately.
Okay, so far I have 2413. You did a first reading you'd like, and 3112.
Yes.
Okay. Giving all of these to Diane and Kristen. So, how about 3432, emergencies update?
It also has a lot of weird things in it. I don't understand the need to train our personnel in NIMS and ICS. They're not going to operate in those systems. And it's
Hey,
just so.
stop finding acronyms.
Yes.
So
That's
NIMS,
radio, that's radio.
Yeah. NIMS is a National Incident Management System. ICS is an Incident Command System. It's a system that the fire department uses when we show up on a call. We
Okay.
institute ICS. We use NIMS is so differing emergency agencies are all talking on in the same language, use the same process and procedures, and those are both things that our employees here at school are
Professionals.
are never going to be a piece in that machinery. And
Well,
Yeah.
AEDs, so
I don't know why,
I'm trying to find the NIMS part.
Yeah, it's third bullet, required building principal to be certified in the incident command system.
Yeah.
ICS.
We all are.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
We
are.
all
We
are,
all
so that was mandatory, but we all are.
Yeah. So 3432 is really what we do.
Yeah.
We're required to do drills, and we're in compliance of that. The shelter in place and all of the various types of, there's reporting that has to be done. I'm not concerned about this policy, but if you want to table it and find out more information, we can have John in.
no, my big concern is, it's not even a concern, I'm just wondering, are we gonna spend a lot of time and money, getting everybody these certifications that really don't buy us any benefit? If we're not going to, then it's.
Right, so we have to be trained in, yeah, this is our mandatory training.
And it's something that's required and we've been doing it. and-
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But I'm happy to have John come in and talk through,
No,
if that would
that's
be.
fine. Those just things struck me as strange.
We'd like to see John. We haven't seen John in a while.
Well, what, okay, so,
No,
okay.
Sorry. I just miss people.
This is fun.
So plan one evacuation, pedestrian evacuation drill. So Columbia Press is in Lahar. So that is something we don't do we do?
Yeah.
interactive?
Yes.
I know we have the
Yes.
trail, but they actually do physically leave.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so these
You're
are
required to do that. I think it's once a year. Some are once a year,
Yeah,
some are.
this says once a
Some are,
year.
some are multiple times, every month you
Yeah.
have to do one.
It was underlined as if it's new, so I'm curious why. Maybe it's just new to the policy, but it's something, a practice that we've had.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we are a school in a MAT, Lahar hazard.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Okay. You want me to keep going? To 6,000? Okay, program planning, budget preparation. Looks like it's just a revision at the end, so moving to procedures from policy.
My only question on that is, does that contradict policy 5005, where in 6,000 here, they've struck board approval of new hires of employment, and policy 5005 explicitly says the board will approve new hires.
I was thinking it was struck because of the redundancy.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense.
They just moved it to the procedures. It's still in here, but it's just being moved over to the procedural part. So they're not taking it out completely.
Good enough?
Is that what you were asking?
Just wanted you to approve another policy.
Right.
I'm always thinking, why?
But I think the one that Kim was referring to is the one in F, which is strike through, because there's some redundancy on that one. Not the G, not letter G. Letter G is just being moved to procedure.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the last one, 6,600. Really, it has to do with the infant on a school bus.
Yeah, do we need that, because we have no services for infants or daycare at schools. Why, I mean, do we? Never-
Well,
Yeah,
the language would really be under Kristen's purview, so I have Kristen question mark on this.
what are your thoughts, Kristen?
Well, I mean, kids 3 and under, we always have them in their dump seats and stuff. So, I mean, if we had an infant, I guess we have the appropriate. The appropriate.
So the school does transport infants.
If we were doing birth to 3 services on site, yeah, we would probably provide some sort of transportation if parents needed it. I don't know how many parents would put their 1-year-old on the bus.
Right.
You know what I
Well, you can't
mean?
on a
This
bus,
sounds to
'cause
me
car
like
seats
it's
can't be.
for
So-
daycare
Well,
services.
No,
I
it
think
says
that's
at the
what you
request of
daycare.
an eligible student,
Yes.
the district may allow the student to transport his or her infant
Yeah.
on a school bus or other student.
Yeah,
But
so
we
I
don't
think
have
if we were
childcare.
really running birth to 3 in-house, we would have to be providing some of those types of transportation services.
Or
But
if
we don't
had-
do that
yeah,
right now.
and we don't have childcare for our students.
No.
So,
No.
Well,
So-
and under policy 6600, it does say these changes are encouraged, but they're not essential. So
Right.
if that's not something that we do,
It is not, at this time, it is not
I'd
something
say
we do.
we do not,
so then
Yeah, I
we
think-
can strike,
Yeah,
we need to approve 6,600.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Not
I'll
a-
take that out.
But if we ever do come back to that, we'll bring it back.
Well, yeah, if we provide
Okay.
that service,
Yeah.
then it's, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do
Yeah.
that work, but.
that
Okay.
would be, that's a big change. I mean, that would be a big decision for us to provide
Yeah.
something like that. So I would say, yeah.
I just hate putting policy in that doesn't pertain to anything we do.
Okay, so Jeff, let's go back and look at AA. So far what I have is 21, 25, you're gonna approve or disapprove, right? That you're looking at that,
We're good to vote on that, right?
correct? Okay, and then 2 and 3, 24,
Table 2 and
13,
3.
and 3112, you want tabled.
Yep.
You're gonna consider 4, policy 3432, and 6,000.
Yep.
And you do not want to move forward for 6,600 because it's not applicable.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay, so I would accept the motion to approve audits the changes to policy 2125.
So moved.
3432
Oh,
and 6,000 as
So
presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify by saying no. Okay, motion carries. Now we'll consider administrative review changes to policies 6404 and 5253.
do we need to move to strike down or we just don't?
Strike
We just
down
didn't
6.
consider it.
We just don't consider, okay, okay. All right.
So it looks like the big change in 5404 is just that if people are out on family medical leave, they cannot come back for district sponsored time,
Correct,
training, et cetera.
correct.
And then 5253 just adds in a little bit about social media
That-
distancing.
That was at risk management.
Yeah. Encouragement, strong encouragement.
So, yeah, I support both those. as written.
I move that we support, I'm gonna get back to my agenda. I move that we approve administrative review changes to policy 5404 and 5252.
Okay, moving seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, policies are changed. And consider approval of resolution 721 on electronic signatures.
Kim, do you want to speak to this? So we moved to electronic signatures on our contracts for teachers and for some of our vendor contracts. We were able to do that under the emergency auspices last spring, but to continue to do so, it does require a board resolution saying that they are acceptable. So our payroll department would like to ask that you please consider electronic signatures.
I know. Okay, I would consider a motion to approve resolution 721 as presented.
Second.
Moving second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, 721 is passed. And approval of resolution 722, emergency waiver of high school graduation credits.
So this is a renewal of the emergency waiver due to pandemic. And so we would just like to carry it forward for this year, not knowing if we even, Amy, you're still on. I don't know that we even used it last year.
We used it last year with one student. Right now, I know there's one student. We have a special education student who just moved in second semester as a senior, who's going to need to waive one credit. It was just circumstances during second semester last year, first semester this year, and but I mean it's one credit. So I mean, we're gonna just hope that they all do really great second semester and we don't have to use it for any more kids, because so far, I mean, at the end of first semester we had
Okay.
Okay.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please signify by saying no. Okay, 722 is approved. Consider the approval of a donation from Weyerhaeuser PTA for an outdoor humongo play tent.
That is amazing. I ask that we accept it.
Concur.
Thank you, Weyerhaeuser.
Is it really substantial? I mean,
It's 20 by 40.
yeah, I mean, the
Oh.
size, I'm talking about, is it gonna test,
It's
stand the weather?
actually the same type of tent that we purchased to have for outdoor eating and outdoor instruction, and they said it's matched.
I looked up the model. It's a commercial.
That is
Yeah,
fabulous.
yeah.
Thank you, West PTA.
Yeah.
Yes.
So generous.
Yeah, so I would consider a motion to approve the Weyerhaeuser PTA donation.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. You signify by saying no. Okay, donation accepted. Thank you, Weyerhaeuser PTA. Let's discuss Community Day.
So this year we are not having in-person Community Day, and the calendar is a half day. And so my recommendation is that we just go the full day.
Full day.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Totally agree.
Is there anything we can do? I mean, I can't think of anything that would really equate to the history and tradition there.
I think just recognizing that this has been such a difficult time for families, and this community has pulled together during a pandemic. I can only imagine that the teachers are going to make that a special day. You know, I would imagine that maybe we could put something together like old. I'm sure the Julies would help us put together photos and things that we could run for the day. It's not going to be the same, but I believe that we will be back stronger than ever. We'll have one heck of a party in a year from now, right? On that Community Day, so.
And maybe a message from you, Kristen. That day.
Absolutely, that would be my pleasure. But I don't think having students get out and
No.
congregating and
No.
doing that, and, you know, people have lost so much. So let's think of a really interesting way that we could celebrate and still have kids in school on that day. It might be the only day ever in the history of Eatonville, forever, but.
Amy, do you have any thoughts about Community Day?
I mean,
I don't. Matt does, so I'll let Matt say because I don't.
What are you gonna say, Matt?
I should say it's going to be pretty difficult to try to really do anything with the pandemic. So I like the idea of just planning for a massive party once everybody's able to get back together.
Right on. Okay, sounds good.
So we will make that change and make that public, and then if people had already had plans or whatever,
And
we
we'll send their
will.
kids anyway, so.
They will send it.
That's just the way it is.
That is the way it rolls.
Okay, Kristen, superintendent comments.
Yes, well, I'm gonna go with the continuation of the Thrive. We have the last 2 weeks seen a return to 5 days a week instructional ability. Last week, our secondary staff, you know, we've had this remote day until this last week for our secondary. I know that our secondary staff want all of their students in. I will make a mention that, you know, with the CDC guidelines for 3 feet versus 6 feet, but right now the guidelines from the state of Washington is 6 feet. And our teachers and all of our staff, our bus, our food service, they have had so many changes this year, and they have risen to the occasion every single time we've asked. And we've done this hand in hand with both of our unions. I just want to thank them very much. This has been a real hard year, balancing safety and the needs for students and always keeping that in the forefront. So I'm very proud and honored that our staff, secondary, and then this week, this is our 3rd full day of all day elementary students in, every single student. And this will be the first week of 5 days a week. This is the first, this is Wednesday, right? Okay. I feel like I've been here forever. It's like but this is the first Wednesday that we have been in face-to-face education for our elementary students for a year. So it's been a little over a year. And so I just want to thank the staff because this does not happen by someone saying thou shalt do this. This happens because staff came together and they wanted their students back. I heard that time and time and time again. So I want to thank our community for trusting us and sending their children. I want to thank everyone for keeping their masks on so we can keep this COVID out of schools as much as possible and continue with the good learning. So I feel like we are on a trajectory. We have all of our employees who wanted to get the vaccine have gotten the vaccine. So I feel like we are ahead of the game in terms of that. And I want to thank Kirk's Pharmacy publicly for being such a great partner, and all of the medical professionals and all of the staff and community members that have been part of that. We will continue that. I know this weekend we have a second dose clinic. And then we have told Kirk anytime he wants to, we will just open our schools. So it has been an honor and a pleasure to be able to do that, but really, I mean, a distinct, probably a lifetime honor to be part of this. It feels like a war effort, and to be part of this coming out of the pandemic. So that's all I have to say.
Very good. Okay. Any board comments tonight?
I just would like to thank incredible amount of work that you've been doing. I'm so excited when you shared about the kids and how you can have their needs and I'm just overwhelmed by them. Thank you for going forward with the curriculum development and that are going on and keep moving. I'm just so appreciative. Thank you.
Very good. Ditto.
I would like to thank Kristen for her 8 years of
Yes.
valiant service with our district, and the growth and innovation and the curiosity and the camaraderie and teamwork that you've helped foster in this district. So we're so grateful and so proud of you. You have our support, and we've been your greatest cheerleaders. And we look forward to passing that baton on to another great leader. And we know that you're going to be a partner in helping us with a really great transition. And I know our community will feel safe knowing that you're behind us and supporting that work. Absolutely. And that being said, none of her work could have been done without the great work that each of you do. So thank you so much, Kim, Diane, Kristen, and all of the staff. It has been extraordinary. And I'm so grateful as I sit with our legislative leaders in leadership in WASDA, and how Eatonville is constantly hailed as a leader and an innovator in everything, but particularly in COVID and in the crisis. So thank you for being willing to take chances and always keeping kids at the focus. I'm just so proud to be a representative of this community.
We're not saying goodbye yet.
Without
Still
a solid
have-
board and without a solid team, none of this would have ever happened.
Agreed.
So this is absolutely, it's a community effort without a supportive community, and a board that always puts children first. So it has been an honor and a privilege.
Well, it's not over just yet.
Either one of you.
We're gonna get our work out of her.
No, I will say, talking to Peninsula directors over the last couple weeks, you know, I told Deb was really impressed. Kristen brings people with her. You know, she doesn't just come in and this is what we're doing. You know, you really bring people with you, which is why this all works. So, yep. Onward and upward. All right, anything else? Then let's adjourn this meeting at 20:51. Thank
Kristen, do you want us
Yep.
to just?
Yep, thank you.